In September of 2000, Tokyo Disneyland would premiere Pooh's Honey Hunt, the first of what we might consider to be this generation of trackless dark rides. For the next 2 decades, this kind of ride system would be implemented slowly across different parks, and its utilization would often be quite different, depending on the need of the ride. Honey Hunt itself would use the vehicles in a number of novel ways, from allowing riders to feel as if they're flowing down the flooded river, to dancing in the dream sequence. As more trackless dark rides began to appear though, the primary use of the system was to create a sense of randomization and unpredictability for the riders. However, as this type of ride has become more prevalent, we've seen it used in a number of different ways. For example, the ride vehicles for Rise of the Resistance play into the actual story, serving as prisoner transports for the riders, who play the role of resistance spies trying to escape from a Star Destroyer. In addition to this, the trackless vehicles also move up an elevator lift, and towards the end of the ride, move into a dropping motion base to simulate using an escape pod to return to Batuu. However, one criticism that I continue to have with trackless vehicles is that they are often used to tell a story in a linear manner, which I feel defeats the purpose of even using them. If you were going to already do that, why not just use a more traditional and reliable tracked vehicle? Still, we have seen this ride system used in a number of clever ways. As an example, Tokyo's Beauty and the Beast attraction uses its vehicles to dance and turn, allowing musical numbers from the film to play out as the actual scene in front of the riders continues to evolve. Popcorn Revenge at Walibi, Belgium uses trackless vehicles in an arcade shooter experience, bringing riders through a central hub and into different theaters. This creates a sense of randomization, bringing riders up to screens with different minigames, all themed to various film genres. Efteling Symbolica is another interesting use of this technology, allowing riders to choose which tour they want and slightly changing the experience based on their choice. I think I've illustrated that trackless vehicles can be used in a number of clever ways, though the technology is still in a state where its creative potential is still being explored. That brings us to, well, something quite different. What if your trackless vehicle was a personalized moving table, part of an upscale dining experience? I haven't seen anyone talking about this, but just a month ago, Europa Park opened Eatrenalin, a mysterious new ride that is actually a restaurant. It seems that Europa Park is exploring a new, exciting frontier, so let's dive in and see what they're doing. When you go to a theme park, the thought of an upscale dining experience may seem a bit odd. Now of course, Epcot hosts both Monsieur Paul and Takumi Thai. Victoria and Albert's at Disney's Grand Floridian is another option as well. I'm sure that there are other examples out there, even outside of Disney, but when I heard that Europa Park was going to introduce a high-quality dining experience in the form of a ride, I was quite intrigued. Eatrenalin is not actually located inside Europa Park, but is instead a little ways away, closer to their water park, Rulantica. For the price of €195, or around $200 US, guests will be taken through an 8-course meal that lasts over an hour and a half. The courses will be served in different themed rooms, all of which match the region from which the food is inspired. Eatrenalin is, well, a bit mysterious though. Because it is a new, high-end experience, and because they don't want to spoil the surprise of the different themed locations, Eatrenalin only allows people to film in 3 of the rooms. The first will be the lounge, where guests will wait for the experience to start and have the option of purchasing cocktails or champagne. This area seems to also include hors d'oeuvres with the drinks as well. The aesthetic is meant to be rather upscale, and the wardrobe of the bartenders seems to reflect this, designed to emulate the bubbles of champagne. Once your group is called though, it's my understanding that you first walk into a water-themed room, with waterfalls coming down from the ceiling, and diners will be met with a seafood dish. At this point, you're not yet seated in the ride vehicles, but when that time comes, a cloth will be lifted, revealing where you'll be seated. From this point, you will board the vehicles and move into the other dining rooms. Currently, Eatrenalin is only showcasing 2 of them though. It's my understanding that the first room you'll actually ride into is known as the Ocean Room, continuing the seafood theme, but slowly transitioning out of the water and onto a beach setting. You'll notice that each room tends to lean towards a luxury aesthetic, rather than actual overt theming, but that's fine because it reflects the experience. Once patrons finish up here, everyone will then move into the Taste Room. While this isn't an area where people can film, Eatrenalin did release some footage here without the vehicles. The point of this portion is to offer a selection of small tastes, stimulating sensations of sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. As the tour continues, the vehicles will move into the Umami Room, which is also the other room allowed to be filmed in. Here the aesthetic obviously reflects East Asia, and the room will of course match this as well. From here though, I'm not exactly sure what the rest of the experience entails, though it's my understanding that there's also a room themed to space. A few years back, there were a handful of concept images released for this project, so you can kind of get an idea of what it might entail, even though film of these locations doesn't exist. Some of this art seems to be outdated as well, as I'm pretty sure this is the Umami Room, and I believe it ended up getting scaled down. Still, Eatrenalin is an upscale sensory dining experience, utilizing the trackless vehicles produced by Mock Rides to create something truly unique. Because patrons are so limited with what they can film, and because of how little has been shown in the marketing, I admit that there's also a large degree of intriguing mystery to the experience as well. This air of mystique that surrounds Eatrenalin only seems to serve to make it that much more enthralling. Now of course, with so little being shown, I imagine that there are people out there who will criticize it, expecting more unique and overt theming. However, from what little information I've gleaned through videos and marketing, there seems to be a lot more to the overall experience than just the food served, utilizing a number of interesting effects and impressively designed spaces. In my opinion, the few rooms that have been revealed haven't seemed too interesting, but as an overall package, it's apparently quite impressive. So having now covered what we can, let's speak about what this may mean for the future of the theme park industry. In the context of trackless dark rides, Eatrenalin certainly stands out as unique in how it utilizes this idea. Obviously, the vehicles don't move very quickly, and the point is not a traditional ride experience, so much as it is the novelty of combining this element with an upscale restaurant. I found Eatrenalin to be uniquely creative and a great addition to the offerings of Europa Park, which continues to appear more and more interesting. The hyper-corporate nature of US theme parks like Disney and Universal can leave a lot to be desired, and so like my videos that highlight incredible European theme parks, I thought it was important to expose my mostly American audience to what I think is a rather cool experience. It's also odd to me that I've seen almost nobody talking about this, so that's why I was interested in covering it as well. With that being said, Thomas Mock has expressed interest in bringing the Eatrenalin brand outside of Rust, possibly to other cities such as Shanghai, Tokyo, or Las Vegas. While I do think that Vegas would be the perfect fit for an experience like this, I can't help but think that Orlando would be a good contender as well. I can certainly see an experience like this fitting into International Drive, located close by to the Orlando Convention Center and appealing to many of the patrons of corporate conventions. As trackless dark rides have become more common throughout the US, it has become apparent that the technology is often used as a gimmick where a normal tracked vehicle would have worked just fine. I had started to sour on the idea of trackless dark rides because they seemed quite limited in their potential, but Eatrenalin has shown me that there are still a lot of creative uses for this that we have yet to explore. So if you enjoyed this shorter video, you can do me a favor by leaving a like, which really helps to boost it into the algorithm. As always though, if you're interested in seeing more theme park content like this, covering and discussing different attractions, I recommend that you subscribe and hit the bell icon as well, so as to be notified to new videos as they release.